Hey, what's up, guys? So, I'm just now upgrading my buildings. And of course, yes, always make sure you pop your builder's aid and make sure you pop your double time whenever you're going to be doing any kind of constructions, right? Of course, we got Canyon Clash, we have Alliance Mobilization, we got a lot of stuff, right? And like anything, of course, you always want to make sure you're refreshing the first two. These are the best ones for Alliance Mobilization, but more or less, I think a lot of people, what they do if they're free to play is they just do the resource and the beasts, and or they can do the like your speed ups, any of those. I personally like promoting troops; those are my favorite. But you can also hunt polar terrors, those kind of things. If you're pay to win, you'll probably do the packs, but I really genuinely don't think that it's necessary for most people, if any, really, to do that. Of course, heroes mission's a big thing, so if you want to get some Philly shards, you can do that. Or alternatively, you can also just turn around and recycle them, which is what I usually do. And then I turn around and use this loot to grab gen, stamina, speed ups, because that to me I think is worth it in the end, at least on the long term. So, of course, with that in mind, right, you might be wondering, okay, with Tundra Adventure, as far as this event is concerned, you know, do I continuously run the rolls, or do I save them, or what do I do? I'm of the opinion that what you do is you just basically do your Odyssey adventure and grab all the fire crystals you can. And then what I do is I actually have been dumping all of them into crystals. Because like I've told you, I honestly don't see any other way to get crystals really outside of spending, and so if in every opportunity that it's free to play to grab those, you need to grab those. Because otherwise you're going to need it for, well, like in this case, obviously I'm going to need it for upgrading my infantry camp, but you just as easily need to use it for T11s. So there's so many things that you have to almost kind of essentially dump a lot of fire crystal into. And so, like, just going from 4 to 5, it's going to take several upgrades, and I won't have a whole lot of fire crystal to go by. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to struggle with as you go along. Because eventually I'll have to do the command center too. So it's just like one of those things. It's the way it is. Now, of course, so I did have some people ask me about this, but for like exploration, like what do you do? And like I'll kind of show you what happens when I go into mine. So you can see that it doesn't last, right? Like they get completely murdered. And even though I've got, somewhat okay heroes here, they still end up going out on top, right? Which is great and all. But of course, even though I'm able to win and I can consistently grab the exploration squad loots, you've probably gotten, this idea that, it's like, okay, if I upgrade the 3 sets, which set do I upgrade and how do I know when to upgrade? And truthfully, it's like really a lot of, if anything, you're going to be dumping most of your time into is trying to level all these sets all around the same time. And you're trying to grab them up to 100, and you're also trying to mastery forge them, and you're trying to get them leveled to legendary, from mythic to legendary. So, I mean, there's so many different things that you have to kind of pay attention to that you can't really strongly look at one set of, for 6 heroes. I mean, you can try, but you're not going to find it to be all that enjoyable. Unless you're like a super pay to win, I mean, you're at a losing gamble of that every time. So like here, I'll go ahead and we'll do it just for fun, just to kind of show you. We'll go ahead and ascend it. And as you can see, Ascension really brings in, a lot of hero attack, health. There's so many different things that you gain from it. Plus it'll also give you some of your stuff back. And you can turn around and use that to enhance it. And obviously there's more stats that come with those empowerments. So, it's one of those things that you can just continuously level. But like now I have a full set of legendary gear. So I'll more than likely go to the next mythic set and get my legendary set for my marksmen, and then eventually I'll start doing the same for the lancers. And I'm trying to level all of them all around the same pace. Not trying to do one set at a time by any means, but yeah, it ends up happening. Like, that's just by, is it by choice? Is there a strategy behind that? Not really. I mean, I'm just ultimately looking at it from the perspective that infantry tend to be the ones that get hit first, so therefore I'm going to logically try to upgrade those. Marksmen do damage to the infantry, so I'm logically trying to upgrade those. And that's kind of the mindset of why I'm doing it in that order, but Lancers are kind of this one little piece that, yeah, you don't want to ignore them by any means, which is why I'm working on them from research, right? Getting a 9% attack bonus, but that's kind of why I'm not so stressed out over, okay, I'm going to deduct here, but I'm going to increase it there, and so in a way I'm not really dropping it one way or the other. I'm actually, if anything, I'm just balancing it out in a different way. Of course, with the island, this is kind of like how my island's coming along. I've got a stupid amount of townhouses basically. Like I don't know why, but I was just like, I'm gonna just build a bunch of these. Now, of course, I do have extras. So like I have a pair of extra blacksmiths and a pair of I've got two basic docks. I've got a deluxe restaurant in here. There's a lot of these that are duplicates, and we'll turn around and use those later to upgrade, but, it's like one of those things you just kind of have to quietly but surely upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, and obviously the island is slowly but surely starting to be revealed, but there's still a lot of island here. Like, there is a stupid amount of island here. I honestly don't know what we're going to see when you get all the way to the edge. It's going to be kind of interesting, but, again, it's one of those things that it takes a lot of time to get there. Of course, some people are already at 15,000. Like, so I thought I'd go ahead and kind of show you what 15,000 prosperity looks like. This guy's got, like, literally almost all of that already. He's got almost all the way up to here. And then he's got, this up in the middle. And so even he hasn't really explored the entire island yet. But still, you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. It's like, it's kind of crazy, really. I mean, in a way. It just, of course, we can also look at, we'll take a look at this guy too, because he's not far behind by any means. And some of these buildings are pretty cool. Like, you can kind of establish a theme, it's really interesting. Obviously, I don't know, some people are real big into buying the water tiles, and then they're just going to make like their own little rivers, which is kind of neat. But, again, to each their own, I guess. But as you can kind of tell, this is, so far, with a lot of the people that I've seen in my state, that's, this is kind of what they have going for their little houses so far. We'll look at like a bunch of these because, I don't know. I always think it's interesting to see how people creatively kind of organize. Because there's not like any one group of people doing it in any one way the same. And some, even though they're at 15,000 prosperity, right? Not all of them are consistently, designing their city the same way. So in a way, it's kind of cool just to kind of look and see what people are coming up with. But needless to say, though, that's really about all I have to say about the island stuff. Really, there's nothing really all that exciting outside of that going on. Of course, you guys have probably heard about the Iron Rhino. So I don't have it in my state yet, but Iron Rhino will be coming, and so that's like after you got the Snow Ape. And I'll showcase it some once we actually get there, but I'm not quite there yet. And of course, there's always more to do, and there's always lots of things to gather and such. So in a way, you're kind of always finding yourself in the situation where you're just kind of constantly having to upgrade. And I don't know. I mean, I wish it wasn't that way, because a lot of the things that I've found in this game, this is really more something on a personal note, right? But it's like, okay, so let's say, for example, we advance this creature, right? Bring it up past level 40, right? Now, whenever the next option comes along, right, I'll eventually have access to the next tier above that, and the next tier above that, and so on, right? And the thing is, every time you level them, you're going to get better and better out of your, stats. Like here, I'm getting 6,000 now, which is cool. Like, getting to, anything adding SWAT capacity is going to be a huge boon whenever you're in a fight. It's like, you're really not going to go wrong with the Snow Ape, I think. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's like when you look at somebody like Takeshi, for example, it's just like, oh my goodness, how do I even compare to that? It's like, that you're going to get completely mollywopped if somebody like that comes by and attacks you. So in a lot of ways, I've kind of narrowed my how do you say, I went from being this guy that was running around and rallying and hitting people to somebody that is now hiding in a corner. And it is definitely a transition that I think a lot of people have in this game. Like, you go from being tiny to even tinier in a world like whiteout survival in such ways that you just don't have control over. It's a more common experience, but again, if you feel like you're behind, you're really not. It's just a lot of the time people are spending a lot to get to where they are. And so for that reason, it's like you have to just kind of organize yourself in a way that you've got to have time, energy, and more importantly, if anything, you got to save fire crystal to get the fire crystal shards, because, naturally. But you also really need them more for the furnace upgrades. And as you might imagine, I mean, yeah, I'm only at furnace level 5, but there is a 6, 7, 8, and rumors are kind of going around that there is a 9 and 10 as well. So with all things going forward, it's just one of those things that it tends to be in that favored direction, is that fire crystal becomes more and more valuable. But, of course, with the beasts update, it's been in that direction too. We get more and more beasts as time goes on too. And of course, we've got more and more heroes and more things to look forward to. But naturally, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.